I'm Myrtle. Standing in the middle of my now former luxury home, I watched as the shock, disbelief, and panic registered in my family's eyes. The silence was deafening, broken only by the soft hum of the projector as the video I'd prepared played on the wall. Surprised? I asked quietly, my voice cutting through the stillness like a knife. This house? It's mine. And so is everything else you thought you could take from me. The room was filled with an uncomfortable tension. My father's mouth hung slightly open, a look of pure disbelief on his face. My sister, Opal, was seething with rage, her hands trembling as she clutched the envelope containing the legal documents I'd prepared. I let the moment sink in before continuing. In the envelope you hold, you'll find proof that the house you thought was mine no longer belongs to me. I sold it. The proceeds? I donated a portion to a charity in my name, so you can't claim I did this for myself. You can't claim I did it for anything other than to break free from this cycle you created. The rest? I've used it to make sure that you'll never be able to touch my future again. As I spoke, I could see the realization dawning on them. All of their carefully constructed assumptions, all of the years of favoring Opal, were coming crashing down. And now, I said, my voice steady, I've made sure that none of you will be part of my life moving forward. You are no longer included in my estate plans. Your names are gone. Your place in my future is erased. The video then switched to a clip of me walking through the rooms of the house, each frame highlighting my journey, the blood, sweat, and tears I'd put into everything that had once belonged to me. Family is supposed to lift you up, I said, but you've only ever made me feel small. So now, you'll see me rise on my own terms. With that, the video ended. I walked to the door, paused, and turned back to face them one last time. Enjoy the panic, I said softly. It's the last thing you'll get from me. As I left the room, a sense of calm washed over me. It was a far cry from the turmoil I'd felt for so long. But how did I get here? Let me take you back. I grew up in a family that seemed perfect on the surface. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, were well-to-do business owners. They hosted elegant parties and always presented a polished image to the world. In our family photos, we all looked like the ideal family, smiling faces, matching outfits. But those smiles were as fake as the furniture arranged in our living room for show. My younger sister, Opal, was the golden child. She was 22, a few years younger than me. Opal was impulsive and carefree. Her wild behavior was seen as charm, and her mistakes were quickly forgiven. She was allowed to get away with anything. For example, when she was 18, she skipped school to go to a concert. Instead of being punished, my parents bought her the latest designer dress to make her feel better. On the other hand, I was the responsible one. I was quiet, focused on my studies, and always tried to do the right thing. I got straight A's in school, worked part-time jobs during college to pay for my tuition, and never asked for anything extra. I thought that if I just worked hard enough, my parents would finally see me and be proud of me. But that never happened. When I turned 18, I had to organize my own graduation party because my parents were too busy planning a trip for Opal to a tropical island. And when I got accepted into my dream university, my father barely looked up from his newspaper. Meanwhile, when Opal got into a local community college, they threw a huge celebration. I tried to convince myself that it didn't matter. I told myself that success was about personal achievement, not about recognition. So, I became fiercely independent. I worked my way through college, landed a good job at a growing firm, and saved every penny I could. I sacrificed vacations, dining out, and social events to build my future. After years of hard work, I finally achieved my dream. I bought a luxury home worth $850,000, all on my own. I was so excited to share this news with my family. I sent them photos and told them how hard I'd worked. But my father's response was like a slap in the face. He texted back, "That's a big place for one person." Maybe Opal can stay with you for a while. She's going through a tough time. It was then that I realized I was just a background character in my own family. I was the one they invited to family events to fill a seat, but they never truly saw me. Opal could do no wrong. Once, she totaled her car by driving under the influence. Instead of facing consequences, my parents bought her a brand new, more expensive car. I watched from the sidelines as they comforted her, telling her it wasn't her fault. I had to bite my tongue so hard that I tasted blood. I was learning to fix my own plumbing problems, apply for scholarships, and work late night shifts while attending early morning classes, while Opal was living a carefree life. When I graduated from college with honors, I mailed the announcement to my parents. My mother called 3 days later, not to congratulate me, but to ask if I could help Opal with a job interview. She didn't even remember that I had a graduation ceremony that weekend. But I didn't give up. I moved to a new city, built a network of contacts, and climbed the corporate ladder. I continued to save and work hard. And then, one day, I got a text from my mother. "Let's have a family dinner this Sunday. It's been too long." A part of me hoped that this was the moment they'd finally see me as an equal. I went to the dinner with an open heart, even bringing a bottle of expensive wine. But as soon as I walked in, I could tell something was off. Everyone was already seated around the dining table, my parents, Opal, and her boyfriend, Henry. The smiles on their faces were tight and rehearsed. My father clapped his hands and said, "There she is, our girl with the fancy house." They laughed, and I forced a small smile and sat down, trying to ignore the unease. Dinner started out awkward but normal. There was light conversation and some teasing. Then, Opal sighed dramatically. "Henry and I are looking for a place to live, but the housing market is crazy right now." My mother nodded in agreement. "Everything is either too small or way too expensive." My father then said, "That's why your house is perfect. It's spacious, beautiful, and it's already in the family." My fork froze in mid-air. Opal turned to me with the fakest smile I'd ever seen. "I know it's a lot to ask, but wouldn't it be amazing if you gifted it to us as a wedding present? You're doing so well, and you don't need all that space." I looked at her, then at my parents, waiting for someone to say it was a joke. But there was only silence. I laughed quietly. "Wait, you're serious?" My mother leaned in, with a fake warm tone. "Sweetheart, it's not about the money. It's about love and family. Your sister is starting a new life. It would mean so much." My father added, "She's always been there for you. Is it so wrong to expect something back now that you're in a position to help?" It was an ambush. They talked as if the decision had already been made. They spoke over me, around me, never directly to me. My own home, something I'd worked so hard for, was being treated like a piece of old furniture. Opal pouted and said, "We're family, right? We share." I stared at her. She had no idea how many nights I'd spent crying, trying to make ends meet. I swallowed the lump in my throat and tightened my grip on the stem of the wine glass. I smiled back, just as fake. "You're right. We are family." But in my head, something had changed. I took a deep breath. "I'm sorry," I said slowly, "but I won't be giving my house away." The table fell silent. You could hear the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Opal blinked, then let out a short, sharp laugh. "Wait, what?" I said no, I repeated, without apology. "That house is mine. I bought it. I worked for it. And I'm not giving it to anyone." My mother's smile disappeared instantly. "But sweetie, she's your sister. She needs it." "No," I said firmly. "She wants it." "That's not the same thing." My father leaned forward, his voice tight. "Don't be difficult. You can always buy another one. You're not exactly struggling." "I didn't work this hard to be your backup plan," I snapped. "I owe you nothing. Opal's face darkened. You're unbelievable. I'm drawing a boundary, I said. That's not unbelievable. That's healthy. She laughed again, but this time there was venom in her voice. Wow, you've really changed. Got a little money and now you're too good for your own family? No, I said. I'm finally seeing this family clearly. Then, in a fit of rage, Opal picked up her glass of juice and threw it in my face. The glass shattered on the floor, and the cold liquid dripped from my chin, soaking my blouse and stinging my eyes. I gasped at the shock, but what hurt more was the silence that followed. No one came to my defense. No one even asked if I was okay. They just sat there and watched. That was the moment I knew I was done. Without a word, I pushed my chair back, stood up, and walked out of the dining room. I didn't look back. For weeks, there was nothing. No calls, no messages. At first, the silence was a relief. I didn't have to explain myself or listen to their disappointed voices. I let go of the constant worry of trying to be good enough. But as the days passed, I knew I couldn't just let it go. I decided to use this silence to my advantage. I hired a lawyer who specialized in property and asset protection. I started the legal process of transferring all my key assets into my name, restructuring my finances, and reworking the ownership of my house. I also gathered all my legal documents, titles, and investments. I planned everything with cold precision. I was done being the second best. I was done being the one who was always left behind. As weeks turned into months, my family must have thought I had accepted defeat. They didn't reach out, assuming I would come crawling back. But they had no idea what I was preparing. Then, one day, I came up with a plan. I crafted an elegant invitation with gold lettering. It was short and to the point. I sent it to my parents and Opal. On the day of the event, my house was ready. It was not just a home, it was a symbol of everything I had built on my own. When they arrived, they were expecting a lavish party. But instead, they were met with an air of cold silence. I stood in the middle of the room, waiting. They were confused, nervous, and unsure of what was going on. I motioned to the staff, and they handed each of them an envelope. When they opened the envelopes and saw the legal documents, the shock on their faces was priceless. And then, I played the video, revealing my plan and my decision to cut them out of my life. Now, as I stand in the new city, in my new life, I look out the window at the twinkling city lights. I feel a sense of peace and pride. I don't need their love or approval. I have proven to myself that I am worthy, and I have found my place in the world, free from the expectations and manipulation of my past family. The journey was tough, but it was worth every step.